The Non-Bank Financial Institutions Regulatory Authority, NBFIRA, contributes to the financial stability of the local economy by regulating and supervising the non-bank financial institutions sector, which comprises of the following industries: capital markets, insurance, medical aid, lending activities, retirement fund industries, as well as virtual asset service providers. NBFIRA fosters, amongst others, the safety and soundness of regulated entities, the reduction and deterrence of financial crime, as well as consumer protection. Join me now, Tlesel, on the Business Kraal, the show that unpacks business, policy, investment opportunities, and trade on Gabz FM at 1330 hours to 1400 hours Central Africa time. Powered by the Non-Bank Financial Institutions Regulatory Authority, NBFIRA.
Let me take this time to welcome all development partners who have tuned in. It's yet another exciting show on Prime Hour. 13:33 is our time. The Non-Bank Financial Institutions Regulatory Authority, NBFIRA, Tuesday's fortnight on Gabz FM. Let me take this time to welcome you and ask you to please be a part of this live session as you SMS 14962. I'm quite excited today to be with my guests, Mayor Juliana White, Director Capital Markets, and Mayor Boa Ntebele, Head of Communications and International Affairs at NBFIRA. Take note that today we're talking about the regulation and supervision of virtual assets in Botswana. You'll take note that NBFIRA has been undertaking a public education initiative right here on the Business Kraal since April, and we will be running with you in the next 2 months in this very initiative. Before I engage Mayor White, you'll take note that in the past episodes, we have been unpacking quite a number of issues, and there have been some questions that have been posed by NBFIRA's clients and potential clients. And we'll take this time firstly to engage Mayor Ntebele, who's the Head of Communications and International Affairs, to respond to these questions that you have sent in. Let me say welcome to the show, Mayor Ntebele.
Thank you very much, Noah. Good afternoon to you and your listeners.
Good afternoon. Let me just engage you in these questions that have been posed by the clients. What is NBFIRA doing in regulating those casually lending money, such as Mithelo, and those who cheat us by bus ranks and borders? This question was posed by one of your potential clients.
Yes, thank you very much for that, Noah. This is quite an important question, and I'm glad for the opportunity we have to provide some clarity for the listeners. It's important, the way that I'll go about answering this question is that I will highlight the difference between the different types of lending done by individuals or to individuals. So we have Mithelo. We also have what you call friendly societies. We also have what you call micro-lenders, and often there's a bit of a mix-up in terms of understanding. So as we know now, Mithelo is a group of individuals who've gotten together, and generally they tend to lend each other money for each individual's specific benefit within the group. It's important to know that NBFIRA does not regulate Mithelo.
Okay.
And yes. And then in addition to that, once the Mithelo group starts lending funds outside of their group, they now this activity now crosses over into the territory of being a microlender. And in order to operate as a microlender, you need a license from NBFIRA.
Yes.
Okay. And another group I'll touch on is friendly societies. Now, friendly societies are set up in quite a similar fashion to Mithelo, but there's a bit of a distinction. So friendly societies, once again, are a group of individuals who've come together and they share a common objective. They will seek opportunities and collect their contributions of funds for their association. Now, with friendly societies, they discuss and agree where they want to invest this pool of funds that they have put together. They may decide to invest it in a pension scheme for the group, insurance or investment schemes for the group. Okay? And so friendly societies are licensed or must be registered with NBFIRA.
Right.
And yes. And so, of course, and as they participate in the other industries under under our sector, as I said, insurance, pensions, or investments, they will have to adhere to the necessary laws pertaining to how all of that works.
Okay. The next question. Yes. Okay, sorry. Okay. Should I get into the next question?
Yep. Go ahead.
All right. The next question was, NBFIRA mandate can be complex. I still don't entirely get it. It's too broad. It should be divided into two parastatals. That was one of the questions, the comments that were posed, Emma.
Okay, great. Our mandate is actually set out or defined within the NBFIRA Act. The scope is indeed broad because the Act does prescribe the types of activities that are considered non-bank financial institution type of activities.
Yes.
However, our setup here in Botswana is not uncommon. I will highlight that Namibia, through the Namibian Financial Institution Supervisory Authority, they have a similar setup where they oversee a number of industries, just like us, insurance, medical aid, pensions, and so forth. And in Mauritius, the Financial Service Commission also has a very similar setup.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. The next question was, what is NBFIRA doing about those who charge pathetic interest rates, meaning those licensed, plus there are way too many? Can you please stop licensing them now?
Thank you for that question, Nell. The authority's approach regarding the lending activities industry, which is what you're talking about, micro lenders and so forth.
Yes.
The government's policy is to allow for pricing to be determined by the free market. So in light of that, NBFIRA does not put a ceiling or a limitation on the level of interest that can be charged, because the market forces and dynamics determine that, the whole supply and demand within particularly the micro-lending industry. So that, for now, has been government and NBFIRA's position on that matter now.
Right.
However, we are always encouraging the public to make sure that they're informed and explore alternative ways of accessing credit, and to make sure that they don't get themselves into being overly indebted and so forth.
Thank you so much. This is Mebo Antebele, the head of Communications and International Affairs at the Non-Bank Financial Institutions Regulatory Authority. So we get into today's business. Let me just take this time to thank all those who have been participating and asking questions. Let me also encourage you to continue sending to 14962. Today we get into today's business, and we are talking about the regulation and supervision of virtual assets with Mayor Juliana White, who's the Director Capital Markets at NBFIRA. Let me take this time to welcome you, Mayor White.
Thank you very much, Nell, for hosting us, and thank you to the listeners for tuning in.
Thank you so much. Let's just get right into it. What are the objectives of the Virtual Assets Act and its supporting regulations?
Okay, now that is a very good question in view of the fact that the Virtual Assets Act is fairly new. It was passed by Parliament in this year in February.
Yes.
So the objective of the Act and its supporting regulations is to regulate new developing virtual asset businesses and make provision for managing, mitigating, and preventing money laundering,
right,
and financing of terrorism, as well as proliferation risks associated with virtual assets and new emerging business practices and technologies.
Right. And what are some of the key licensing requirements as well as the types of entities to be regulated?
All right. The licensing requirements are quite lengthy. They can be found under the virtual assets regulations, which are also available. They can be obtained at the government printers. But in a summary, the licensing requirements for virtual assets include a demonstration by the applicants that they possess the necessary qualifications, experience, and that they, including the directors and the shareholders of the applicant.
Yes.
They require that the full beneficial owners should be disclosed. Full company documentation, including business plans, financial and operational projections of virtual assets businesses. The requirements also emphasize on the technological capability of the applicant, as well as the other operational capabilities, including fit and proper, of fit and probity of the key controllers of the business entity seeking to obtain a license.
Right. I'm on the Business Kraal Facebook page, and there's already a message getting in there to say that, can you please ask your guests to also speak in Setswana, so that we fully understand. So I don't know, maybe later on you'll just summarize just a bit, maybe in Setswana. I don't know if you can be able to.
Ke kgwebo ya maranyane e leng gore o reka dilo tse o sa kgoneng go di tshwara ka lebogo, o di thalagala di le mo maranyaneng, ke tsone di-virtual assets. Di bonagala mo maranyaneng ga o ka ke le mo maharatlhatlheng a maranyane, like mo inthaneteng le mo di-websiteng hela.
That's a great summary. That's a great summary, If you just tuned in, welcome to the Biz Kraal powered by the Non-Bank Financial Institutions Regulatory Authority. We're speaking to Juliana White, the Director, Capital Markets, and today we unpack the regulation and supervision of virtual assets in Botswana. Be a part of this conversation, 149620 SMS line, or you can drop in a question in our inbox, the Biz Kraal, or even in our NBFIRA's inbox as we continue this particular discussion. Ms. White, why was there need to regulate virtual assets in Botswana at this time? And as you shared that, kindly also share the main risks that the public should be mindful of.
Okay. Very good questions. Let me just mention that there are two types of licenses that are provided for in terms of the new Virtual Assets Act.
Yes.
Being the virtual license for virtual asset service providers. We call them VAS, Virtual Asset Service Provider, as well as licenses for issuer of initial token offering, issuer of an ITO, initial token offering. So basically, the Act applied to any person who is an organizer, issuer, founder, purchaser, or investor participant in the formation, promotion of the offering of virtual assets or initial or tokens, let me say, or a token offering. So all those people are supposed to apply for a license at NBFIRA. And the reason why there is need to regulate virtual assets in Botswana is that previously virtual assets were not licensed, particularly cryptocurrencies were not regulated anywhere in the world. As you can imagine, these assets, they operate under a centralized regime or protocol using blockchain technology. So as a result of this, there are no intermediaries that link the people that are offering these assets and the investors.
Right.
As is the case in the traditional financial ecosystem. So that makes them very centralized, and therefore makes them very difficult to monitor, because some of these intermediaries that we have in the traditional financial ecosystem, they actually act as buffers because they are licensed by NBFIRA. They manage most of the risks So, for example, they will KYC their customers. So the system, unless it is demanded to KYC its customers, it will not do so. Yeah. And that was one of the major reasons why the Financial Action Task Force, which is FATF, recommended that they be monitored for money laundering, because they were considered to pose money laundering and possible tax evasion threats in the world. Mm-hmm. That was the main reason why these virtual assets had to be licensed in Botswana. We had to comply with the FATF standards.
Right.
Now, the FATF standards require countries to assess and mitigate against the risks associated with virtual assets businesses through supervision and monitoring. So almost every country in the world is required to supervise these assets. Basically to monitor them against the money laundering, terrorism financing, and the financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow. Okay. It looks like this particular subject is attracting quite a number of questions. There are already some rolling in our inbox on the business crawl, but I would just like to point out that it's important that we give Mayor White a chance to further elaborate on NBFIRA's mandate with regards to this. And in the next episode, we should be able to start off with answering these particular questions that you're rolling in. But kindly do continue to pose these questions on 14962 or on our inbox, the business crawl. Why are crypto assets or virtual assets an attractive option for criminals seeking to launder money, Mayor White? Especially as we also get into, maybe as you answer that, you can couple it with having to, react to the cross-border transaction, which aren't monitored for reporting purposes as is done in the traditional financial ecosystem, as you mentioned.
Thank you very much for that question. Now, it's very important. The risks that are associated with crypto assets are manifold, but yes, I think for the purpose of this discussion, we can just concentrate on one or two or three such risks. Mm-hmm. As I said already, these assets are technology-based, web-based, new, and they are complex, meaning that it is not all the risks that they pose that are understood at this point in time. Everybody around the world is learning these assets. Yes. There is no somebody that can come out clearly and say any country that can say they're an expert in virtual assets. Really, it's a very new concept, a very new phenomenon. So like I said, they are basically operated on the blockchain technology, which is centralized. Yeah. Now the way it works is that because there are no intermediaries, so the only person that can know who is buying an asset from A is the person to whom A is selling the asset to. So there is no reporting. For example, if you just compare that with the current banking system, if A sends money to B, the bank would know about that transaction. Yes. Actually, two banks would know about that transaction. Mm-hmm. Or depending, that would be the sender's bank and the recipient's bank. Yes. Because they are required to monitor those transactions. So the risks that are pertaining to these assets are really hidden under the technology, which a lot of the people don't have the knowledge of. We all don't have the technological knowledge of the cryptocurrency or crypto assets or virtual assets. Yes. So it is very difficult for an ordinary investor wanting to make a gain to distinguish between a fraudulent and a genuine platform, for example, or to distinguish between a fraudulent and a genuine app that is offering these assets, or to distinguish between a fraudulent and a genuine exchange that is offering these assets, or through which these assets are traded. So if you don't have the technological know-how, that is a risk on its own. It poses a risk to members of the public.
But maybe just there, when you're saying the technological know-how, what exactly do you mean?
What I mean is that the way these assets are traded is such that, first of all, you have to know how to use the internet. Mm-hmm. You have to have some understanding on how the blockchain technology works. And if you don't, you have to trust the person who is offering that blockchain technology-based assets to you. Mm-hmm. You have to actually know who they are. For example, when you participate in capital raising exercise through the ITO system, initial token offering.
Yes.
So typically an investor would or a promoter would come and say, okay, I want to raise funds maybe to develop a mall or to develop another technology. Mm-hmm. And they would offer these assets. They would do the ITO over the net. So the question is, can an individual understand what those people are offering? Uh-huh. That is actually the number one question.
Yeah,
it's very, very key
for you to be able to understand.
Exactly.
Yes.
Who is going to unpack that technology to the ordinary investor? Mm-hmm. So investors have to exercise some caution because insofar as there is this anonymity, these transactions these investments would remain highly risky investments unless the investor fully understands the structure of the virtual assets. They remain vulnerable to fraud and abuse. Right. The fact that there is they are web-based and they are internet-based with no face-to-face transactions makes it very difficult for the customers to assess the actual risk. Mm-hmm. Even the risks that would be picked, ordinarily.
Yes.
Makes it very difficult for them to be picked by an ordinary investor. Mm-hmm. These investments can be easily plagiarized, meaning that an unsuspecting investor may genuinely find an offer attractive over the internet, only to find that the investment was a fraud. They can promise high returns, only to find that such a promise was provided by a fake service provider. So they are complex. So an investor needs to learn a lot about a product before they can put money
before they can actually engage.
Product.
Yes.
They have to learn. They have to ask the person offering questions. They have to make sure they understand what is it that they are buying. And then the other risk is the counterparty risk, where the platform, both legitimate and scammers, the web platforms are utilized by both legitimate and scammers, service providers, such as custodians, may disappear into the dark web. It's very easily, there are two types of webs out there. There is the legitimate web, and then there's the dark web, where the scammers and the fraudsters can always go and hide and change their identities. So once the investments of members of the public have disappeared into the dark web, even an institution as NBFIRA and in conjunction with some of the law enforcement agents might find it very difficult to trace those investments. So
right.
It's very important that due diligence are conducted by potential investors into these technology-based assets. Before
further engagement
that they
or commitment.
ask questions. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're left with 3 minutes, Mayor White. Let's engage on this last one. How can the public keep themselves well informed to make sound decisions when participating in virtual assets businesses? But you have already highlighted some. You can further elaborate on others.
That is a very, very good question. Once we are in the process of implementing the Virtual Assets Act in Botswana, so we will have a database eventually of a list of licensed operators, and we will put that list on our website to inform members of the public of providers that they can deal with.
That is the licensed one. Those are the licensed ones.
KYC, exactly. That we have vetted, that we have licensed. So that would be the starting point. The next point would be if a product is offered on the net, a virtual asset is offered on the net. If an investor is not sure about the legitimacy of that product, we suggest that they should approach the regulator for further advice. At least the least that we can say as NBFIRA is that we don't know that product at all, or we don't know the person that is offering that product. He is not listed with us. Or we can say, oh no, he is listed with us, so it is a legitimate product. The investor can go ahead and purchase it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let me take this time to thank Mayor Juliana White, who's the Director, Capital Markets at the Non-Bank Financial Institutions Regulatory Authority, NBFIRA. Take note that this show is powered by NBFIRA. It has attracted quite a number of questions. We were unpacking the regulation and supervision of virtual assets. Please do get glued to NBFIRA's Facebook page. If you missed some of the contents of this show, there will be a copy of that show posted on NBFIRA's Facebook page and on the Business Kraal. Is Mayor Ntebele still here with us?
I'm right here.
Mayor Ntebele, kindly share the numbers for partners to further engage NBFIRA on this particular topic.
Absolutely. The listeners can email NBFIRA on the email info@nbfira.org.bw. That's info@nbfira.org.bw. Alternatively, they may call us on 310-2595. 310-2595. They may also follow us on our social media platforms or visit our website, which is www.nbfira.org.bw.
Thank you so much. The time is 1400. I'll give back to Joe. And kindly, if you just tuned in and this topic was of great interest to you, please get on NBFIRA's Facebook page. Get glued there. We will share the copy of this particular discussion. Good afternoon.
The Non-Bank Financial Institutions Regulatory Authority, NBFIRA, contributes to the financial stability of the local economy by regulating and supervising the non-bank financial institutions sector, which comprises of the following industries: capital markets, insurance, medical aid, lending activities, retirement fund industries, as well as virtual asset service providers. NBFIRA fosters, amongst others, the safety and soundness of regulated entities, the reduction and deterrence of financial crime, as well as consumer protection. Join me now, Tlesel, on the Business Kraal, the show that unpacks business, policy, investment opportunities, and trade on Gabz FM at 1330 hours to 1400 hours Central Africa time. Powered by the Non-Bank Financial Institutions Regulatory Authority, NBFIRA.